The following is an ECC Studios production in association with March 16 Media.
Hi everyone, and welcome again to the God Stop, where we stop and wait on God to take us wherever He wants us to go. I am Pastor Jason Reed.
And I'm Trishatha Jeffrey. All of us have families, and for the most part, we're easily identifiable as a member of our families, whether it be in terms of looks, gestures, or the things we do or say. So what does that mean for us as Christians? The Bible tells us that we were made in God's image. So what does that mean? What should we do? What should we say? How should we behave? We're going to talk about that this week on the God Stop.
Yes, and before we get there, we have some guests with us tonight, and we want to ask them just to say a little bit about themselves. We have Jamal, Susan, and Anais. So Jamal, can you tell us something about yourself?
Hi, I'm Jamal Amris. I go to East Point SDA, and I like exercising.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. So you're fit. Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Seeley. I'm an attorney at law. I'm from Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Good. So we have some legal minds among us. Anais?
Hi, my name is Anais Charles. I go to Pilgrim Road SDA Church. Among other things, I like to hang around people. I like to get to know people.
Wonderful. So we're good to have you with us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get right into our discussion for this week. So stay tuned, stay logged on to us, and you will be blessed at the end of this. We'll take a quick break.
If the boat doesn't come, there's no food. I spent a year in the Philippines in the middle of the jungle as a volunteer missionary. There are only two sources of food there in the village because it's so far away from everything. One, the boat will carry everything that we order via text, or two, the people in the village will give us or sell to us what they have. We were really dependent on the boat. A typhoon had been in the area, one that had struck Australia. And because of this typhoon, the waves over near our village were really rough. And the boat wasn't able to come and bring food to us. The first week went by, we were okay, we had enough food. Second week went by, hey, we're still making it. This is what we expected, 2 weeks. Now the third week wasn't so much fun. The third week, we had run out of everything, even rice. And it was my week to cook. I had to take care of 4 individuals, including myself. And I had no idea how I was gonna do it because we literally had nothing. I did the only thing I knew I could do. I went down on my knees and I prayed. I said, Lord, I have no idea how I'm gonna make it through this week. And I pray that you will provide for me like you promised in Luke 12. As soon as I got off my knees, after pleading with the Lord, I heard a voice at my front door. Mom Abby. And I saw a little girl. She didn't speak much English, but my students translated for me. I have cassava to sell to you. And I can tell you this, there was not one day for that entire week that any of us were not stuffed when I say the floodgates of heaven were open, I don't mean we just ate, okay, I think I can do with this to survive and live comfortably. No, we were all stuffed each day. My name is Abigail, and my prayer was answered.
Hello and welcome back to the God Stop. This week we are discussing God's handiwork. And I would like to ask Anais to read Psalms 103 for us, please.
It goes, know ye that the Lord, He is God. It is He that hath made us, and not we ourselves.
That's a good text.
Yeah.
Know ye that it's the Lord that made us and not we ourselves. How can we begin to think about that and relate to that? Sometimes you look at yourself, and probably if we could have make ourselves, I don't know if we would look exactly how we look now. But there's some things we wish we could change and so on. So, but how do you feel about the idea that God made you and not yourself?
Well, I am extremely glad that God made me and I didn't make myself, because I'd probably be really, really huge. But I think God gives us exactly what we need and nothing more, I guess.
Well, I'm glad that God made me too, because I feel extremely special. Because I know He's a special person, and the fact that He made me, it makes me feel special.
I'm very glad that He made me, because one thing about Him, He doesn't change. My feelings and emotions, they change. So if that, my value will be going up and down, that would be cool. Right? So one day I'll be in the dirt, the next day I'll be high up above everyone. It wouldn't be nice. And we have that all now. So
True.
Yeah. And we don't like it.
Cool.
So when you look at the whole concept of God making us, and I don't want to move from this one too quickly, because you have the opinion of others out there. Some people, they don't like themselves because they may be too short, too tall, too slim, too fat, whatever the case may be. What kind of advice can you give to such a person? Because we all look different, and the world's standards, some people are pretty, some people are not so pretty. But how can somebody read this text and take comfort knowing that just how they look, who they are, they can still feel good about themselves because God, the supreme God, made them? How can you talk to a person like that?
Well, the first thing I recognize from someone who isn't satisfied with themselves is, the truth is they aren't happy, right? And true happiness can only be found in God. So when you get closer to God and learn about God and see that God took all this time to make you as the individual that you are, then you come to appreciate more yourself, because so much time and energy has gone into making you, every aspect of you. So get closer to God and learn about what He wants for you, and what plans He has for you, and you'll appreciate what God has given you and who you are way more.
Understood. TJ, any thoughts on that?
I think, kind of piggybacking off of what Jamal said, I think that it goes into the quote or the phrase that says, in order to know who you are, you have to know whose you are. And I think that he's right. When we know that God made us, and that God, when God created, He said it is good. God said it was good. And although sin has come into the world and has corrupted God's perfect plan, we are still made in His image, and we are still endowed with everything that we need to do what He needs us to do. He gave us everything that we need, whether it's physically or mentally or in any other way. We have everything that we need to do His work for Him.
Understood. That's good. And what I would say sometimes to individuals, there's some things that I can't change. Some things I just can't change. I can't change how tall I am or how short I am. Can't change that. If you have a problem with it, you check God, because He's the person that did that. You check God. Don't argue with me. Don't make noise at me. I can't change that. That's how I am. But there are other things about us that we can change, and we can have a nice positive attitude, that God can help us to have a beautiful personality. And that is one thing that no one can take away.
True.
We want to move quickly on as we look at I want someone to read Genesis 1, 26 and 27. And we want to look at this concept very quickly. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27. I'm going to ask Susan to read it.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them.
Wonderful. Now, quick question. What is the difference between this whole concept of creation, the God way, and evolution, the science way? What's the difference?
There's a huge
Tell us, Anna, what's the huge difference?
Okay, one thing for sure, when it comes to God, it says that someone actually like took the time out to think up something, you know, to create the world first, because remember, you can't just ignore the creation week. He took time to create something for us, and then took time to design us. 'Cause I mean, he spoke everything into existence. But when it came to Adam, he sat down, took up some dirt and started to fashion us and made it. He took that time to plan and design us. And you can see the love and the effort that went into it.
Okay.
When it comes to evolution now, some mistake happened. And everything just blew up and bam, you know, some cell came out of the, you know, the murk and started walking. And, you know, everything just came from there. It's like, really and truly? So why am I here again? I'm just here by chance? I mean, I should be able to do what I want. What's the sense of rules? Right? I'm just like, if there were rules, we don't have the Big Bang, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's just a whole lot of chaos, right? And yeah, it's not good to not. Like, I mean, look at dysfunctional families. When you come from a place that's just full of chaos, it's disturbing, right?
Honestly.
I understand what you're saying. So what would you say about people that say, well, we have science and we can't prove what happened, but looking at how the world is today, you know, we're gonna base what happened on that. You know, look at the Grand Canyon. You know, if the Grand Canyon, how, you know, obviously that's millions and millions of years of the river running through and cutting a path through the rocks. What would you say when people look at nature, not at us as people, but when people look at nature and say this points to evolution, what can we use to counteract that?
We can use the Bible to counteract it. Because, I mean, people who have made these theories about evolution and all these strange things, they still can't find the origin or the source of where they're coming from. But when you go back to the Bible, it's clear. The Bible is clear as to how we were created and what God has done for us. But you look at those theories, you don't have any ending. It's just going in a circle all the time. Okay. You know, it's pretty confusing.
Wonderful. So in terms of what you're saying, we can conclude then that the process of evolution has no purpose. But when it comes to the creation, the God way, there's a purpose. And I think if we consider that carefully, we can look at ourselves and say that we all have a purpose.
We do.
We all have a purpose. But if we believe in evolution, we can do anything. We don't have a purpose. But I'm saying when God decided to make mankind, he made us all with a purpose. And that's the difference. And to me, that's a great difference between evolution and creation. One has a purpose, the other doesn't. How do you look at the whole concept of Adam and Eve? Do you think they were literal persons or were they symbolic? Adam and Eve. Were they just these two names or two symbolic individuals, or did they really exist?
Yes, they did, because from the inception, creation, the Bible specified how God created the male and female. So they just happened by chance. God took time to create these human beings in his own image.
So how do you think Adam and Eve looked? Did they look like us in terms of in the image of God? How do you understand being made in the image of God? He made plants, he made animals, then he made man. Were the animals made in his image? Were the plants made? What does it mean to be made in the image of God?
Well, I think that to be made in the image of God, it means that we are a physical representation as well, but more so, we have to, our personalities and our characters need to be as close as possible to his. And we need to strive for that. Again, God made everything and it was perfect. And then sin came into the world and marred it. But we have hope through Jesus that we can work towards becoming more like God, becoming more like Jesus every day in what we do and what we say. We just have to, we pray, we ask God for that, and we read the Word and we study that. And I think that in terms of being made in the image of God, we also have to, what does it mean to have like dominion? God said that Adam had dominion over everything in the garden.
I just wanted to like add on to what you were saying. In verse 26, basically answers your question. It puts two aspects. Let us make man in our image after our likeness.
Yes.
So our likeness would basically mean their physical, you know, what they, well, not physical, because spirit, right? What they look like, right? Their likeness. And the image would say something else, because the image is a reflection of something.
Yeah.
So the image is deeper when the likeness is just like, you look like us, right? But you have to represent us as well, the image, right? Reflect us.
So you're saying the image and the reflection, as TJ is hinting, in terms of the dominion, because some may tell you that sometimes a monkey can look like a man. So you were saying that God, the monkey, also is the likeness of God. No, so when you look at the idea of the dominion as well, and we look at the whole concept of the image of God, mankind had a difference to the animals, where mankind could reason, could think, and he could be in charge of the animals. So he had the power of reason and also the power to choose. While nature takes care of the animals, they do things by nature, we human beings can think and we can make decisions.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the aspects that we are made in the image of God.
Yeah. And in terms of being made in the image of God, if somebody could read for me Mark 12, 13 to 17. Yeah. This is kind of going back to what last week's lesson was talking about, and how people are saying that, you know, that the Old Testament and New Testament are two distinct parts of the Bible, and that you can take one and kind of leave the other. But this is showing that that theme of creation and God's handiwork runs all throughout the Bible. Have it? Mark 12, 13 to 17.
13 to 17, okay. All right, it says, and they sent unto him certain of the Pharisees and of the Herodians to catch him in his words. And when they were come, they say unto him, Master, we know that thou art true, and carest for no man, for thou regardest not the person of men, but teachest the way of God in truth. Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar, or not? Shall we give, or shall we not give? But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Bring me a penny that I may see it. And they brought it, and he saith unto them, Whose is this image and superscription? And they said unto him, Caesar's. And Jesus answering said unto them, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him.
So it seems like Jesus is saying in this text, so this penny has Caesar's image on it. And in terms of paying taxes, you give Caesar what is his. This is his. But in terms of us, we, just like you said, Anais, we have God's likeness. We are made in God's image. And so that means that we should then give ourselves to him. We should make sure that we have a relationship with him and give everything to him, because he gave this to us.
True.
One thing that I'd like for all us to remember is, given that the text is so specific, when God says, you know, let us make man in our own image, and Jesus then says to everyone, you know, give Caesar what is Caesar's and give God what is God's. As we are made in God's image, we must remember that we are here to represent God. So like a carpenter, you make this beautiful masterpiece. That work is a representation of you. So as we represent God, we need to learn about our Creator and learn about our Maker, so we can go and do what He wants us to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's very, very beautiful. I like how you put it and how TJ puts it in terms of the text. And Jesus is saying, okay, Caesar's money, it has his inscription. And as TJ said, we too carry the image of God. And he's saying, give unto the world what belongs to the world, but give unto God what belongs to God. We belong to him. And that's important, and that's beautiful, and that's so special. That makes all of us special. He doesn't say that some belong to him or others, but all of us belong to him.
Yes. So we're going to take a break. But before we take a break, please, we want this to be interactive. Find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, add us on Skype. It's facebook.com/thegodstop, at thegodstop on Twitter, and Skype name is thegodstop. We'll be right back.
prayer has been something very special in my life and in my ministry. I remember very clearly that almost 15 years ago, it was in a prayer moment that I sensed, that I heard the Lord telling me that I should do something special. At that time I was living in the US, right in the beginning of my graduate studies. But the Lord told me, you need to go back, you need to start something special, something different, in order to somehow reach people who have not been given the opportunity to listen to the wonderful message that we believe in. After those years, my wife and I, we went back to Brazil, São Paulo. And I remember the day we arrived, I told her, love, come here and see. I opened the window of the hotel we were staying in. We had no idea where to start, with whom we should talk to. Then we prayed, and the Lord sent the right people. We met some church members who were willing to dream with us, to have the same vision, the same passion for lost people. At that time, we were only 16 people, and we started this church plant. For 6 months, we met every single weekend to pray, to see what the Lord was showing us, and prayer was so important. Then we started. It was a wonderful moment for us. In these past 6 years, the Lord has blessed us beyond our imagination. The church has grown, and every weekend we have over 850, 900 people attending this church. Many seekers, many visitors coming. Many people have been transformed through this ministry, through this church. And a couple of years ago, one of the members came to me and she said, Pastor, we need to have something even more special about prayer. And she came up with this simple idea of having a little ark in which every single weekend people can come and put their prayer requests inside that little ark. But the difference is that we have a drawing, and a family or a church member take the little ark to their home during the week. And you have an agreement. That person, that family, they pray for the prayer requests, and the whole church pray for that family or for that person. And throughout these past few years, we have seen in powerful ways the way the Lord is touching and guiding and blessing church families and members. It's been something very special. It is the highlight of our moment together with God, prayer moment. My name is Kleber, and our prayers have been answered.
What's the next text? Hi, and welcome back to the God Stop. Thank you for joining us. This week we are talking about God's handiwork. And we just came back from speaking about how we're made in God's image and in God's likeness. And piggybacking off of that. Piggybacking off of that, I'm going to ask Jamal to read Genesis 2:19 to 20.
Right, and it says, out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him.
Yes. So this text is saying that God made these animals, but he gave Adam responsibility. Adam had to name the animals. And imagine God saying, so Jamal, I want you to name all of these for me. That's like really, that's a big responsibility. That's a big thing. What does that say about how we should treat the earth and animals right now as we are?
Well, I think everything deserves respect. I think that God trusts us. I really do. He trusts us to make our own decisions, but the right decisions. More so, decisions for Him, I'd say.
Okay, wonderful. And as TJ was speaking about the whole idea of Adam naming these animals, and I'm saying to myself, Adam was, I don't know how long he was created before God asked him to do this, but right there, God calling Adam's brain into action. Come up with some names.
That's what I'm saying as well, because I mean, he could have come up with some strange names to name these. He goes like, ooh, Stripey, what we call tiger. It was like Stripey.
But you know what? And all this shows how God thinks about us. I mean, we are special to Him, and having given Adam that responsibility shows us that He really loved us, and that He give us the opportunity to do something on our own, even though He gave us the responsibility to do things in His likeness, and He gave us that guidance, and He wants us to trust Him. So that's what He did with Adam. He wanted Adam to do things that He could trust doing.
Okay. I think it was his first trial test up. Like, hey, I made you to have dominion over the fish in the sea. So it's like, hey, this is your first test. Name the animals. All right? I want you to get down with them and go in there and see them and then name them. I'm pretty sure he just walked up and just called a name. He probably like had them gathered together, saw they were interacting, because I'm pretty sure that's how he saw the fact that he had nothing for himself. All right?
And probably that made it real to Adam's mind that he really had dominion over these things. Because God is saying, like, you have dominion over these animals, name them.
Yeah.
And that gave him that sense of responsibility. You know, I'm naming you, I'm responsible for you, I know all of you by name. You know, like when you have all these things, you know them by name.
Pets.
Your pets, you know all the, anybody has pets? You have a pet, TJ? You have a cat?
I don't have, I don't like cats.
Goodness,
no offense to cat lovers, but I don't like cats. I don't like cats. I've had dogs though.
So you like dogs?
I like dogs. And we had dogs, and we named them Diamond and Princess and Duke. We were trying to, you know, give them names to make them feel special. But even parents do that. That's like the first thing when somebody finds out that they're pregnant. That's what a couple does. They think about the names, and especially Christian couples. You find them going and figuring out what the name means and looking at Hebrew names and Greek names and biblical names, because a name, it's a lot. A name it helps with your character and your personality and who you are. You are that person based on your name.
So it wasn't a case where Adam was saying he was supposed to take care of the animals, and it wasn't a case where Adam would say, your name is chicken and I'm going to eat you tomorrow. No, he was responsible for them. And at that time, man didn't used to eat meat. So he was responsible for the creation. And God wants us even today to also show that level of responsibility to the creation. Even to the earth. We are not supposed to litter and throw things out the window. I hope none of you guys do that. You know?
Not regularly, but I apologize.
Right, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to take care of the environment that we live in. We're good to animals. They didn't do us anything. We need to treat them well as well. So I think that's what God is saying to us as well from that perspective.
Very true. And then in the middle of naming these animals, you know, Adam probably realized, but wait, the tiger has a woman tiger, and the lion has a woman lion, and even the frog has a woman frog. So where's my woman, you know? And that brings us to the next point, that God didn't only create Adam and give him dominion over the animals. God also saw that he needed somebody to help him, to be a helpmeet. And God created a woman for him.
Well, I don't like how you say that he saw, or say he designed. Right? When we saw his life, he was like, oh, wait a minute, I think he needs someone. No, he designed him, and he wanted him to realize it for himself. He didn't want to go last for 6 months, and then he's like all depressed. It's like, why am I by myself? Like, no, like, dude, figure out now, right? Before we get too far. I like how God likes to do that. If you recognize, he always likes to put things in your face to make you recognize things. He likes us to reason, all right?
And I like that point that you made, because it says to me that yes, we are made for a purpose. God has a great design for all of our lives. But he wouldn't just reveal all of it one time. It comes to a surprise to us, but it's not a surprise to God. He's like, I have this for you. If you walk in my footsteps and walk in my way, you will get it. But so that to me that makes God so remarkable. He had it designed, as you were saying, for Adam all from the start, but he wanted Adam to want it and to see it and to see the reason why he should have it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Very true.
I think evolution just takes all of the fun, joy, everything out of life, because for something that is promoting, you know, the fittest, survival of the fittest, and, you know, like, kill everything, kill so you could be the best at the end of the day. And, you know, God is like, you know, survive, live, appreciate everything, and represent me as you go.
True.
Befriend.
And even when you look at it in terms of the whole idea of God didn't want it to be alone. And we often say no man is an island. My question is to you, does it mean that all of us should be married and all of us have to get married? And that's the kind of togetherness God is talking about?
Well, although marriage is the, like, you know, well, underneath our relationship with Him, right, is the second strongest or the second highest level, right? Everyone is not the same, right? Everyone doesn't need to get married. If you are strong to hold to yourself and you don't need, you know, that sort of relationship, that intimacy with someone all your life, it's like, sure, you know, you're designed to live forever. You'll find one eventually.
But the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. So what was
said
God
woman,
talking about?
right? But, yes, he said it's not good for man to be alone. That's why we have friends. That's why we have family. That's why we have cousins. So if that person is satisfied with just their friends and family, then sure, right? But I'm pretty sure, as he said, his word is true. Man is not meant to be alone. So although the man or the woman has not found someone that they would like to spend the rest of their life with, doesn't mean that it's entirely out of the picture.
With you. TJ, she's planning to get married also. So TJ,
yeah, about the marriage thing. Yeah, my thing is that it doesn't mean that necessarily everybody has to get married. I think that
I wasn't saying they have to.
No, I know. I think that it depends on God's plan for you, and I think that sometimes we obsess about marriage too much. You know, we think about, okay, you're like 23 and you're not married. What is your problem? And I don't think that's it. I think we need to figure out who we are in Christ. And then if marriage is in the plan, I think that all falls into place afterwards. God said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And marriage and a man or a woman or your degree or children or whatever it is will come into line.
That sounds pretty, but Jamal, how do you feel about that? Suppose God's design for you is for you to live by yourself for the rest of your life and not to be married.
Well, thank God that wasn't his plan.
No, okay, you're married.
No, I'm not married. I'm just saying that I'm thankful that God designed it that man is to be with someone, a person that helped me, someone that you can share and live and love with for the rest of your life. Because I wouldn't say, though, that we fuss about marriage too much. I think it's more your focus. If you want to get married, then I think you should pray about it and wait on God. I'm not just saying that you sit down here and say, well, you know, God's going to send me a woman. No, I'm saying that you pray and wait on God, not that you just physically sit and wait. You get up, you live your life for God, you do what you have to do, but you're just waiting on God. You don't just go and say, well, oh, she's pretty. Hey, will you marry me? Not that kind of stuff.
Don't answer, TJ. All right, so as we looked at that in terms of the whole idea of man not being alone, we're not all in terms of just marriage, but we're social individuals. We're taking calls from our next session, and TJ will tell you a little bit more about that.
Oh yes, you can call us Skype. If you have Skype, add us. Just look for The God Stop. Add us on Facebook as well. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on The God Stop.
The summer that I was 19, I had just gone through an incredible heartbreak, and I had decided that I was done.
My freshman year at college, after 3 different girlfriends at the end of the year, I realized that my dating values were not very congruent to biblical values, and it kind of bothered me.
And I had a conversation with God in that moment. And it was like he told me so clearly in my mind that he could not let anyone else come into my life until I was safe for him to give away.
It was the second semester. Valentine's banquet was coming close, and that was a big deal. I thought maybe I could ask Sarah. Her and I had been friends for a while, and we could just have a good social time.
A certain handsome young man that I had known for a long time and had never been interested in asked me if I would go with him, just as a friend, to the Valentine's banquet at our college. And I said yes.
Over the next couple of weeks, we started hanging out more, and I started thinking more about her, and I started asking some of my mentors for their opinions and so forth. And the night of the Valentine's banquet came, and we had a good time, and afterwards we were walking the pedestrian bridge. We kind of crossed over with some of our friends and having a great time.
And toward the end of our time walking there together, Marius got very quiet, and then he started talking.
All of a sudden, as I was talking to her, it's almost like I heard this voice in my mind. I don't know how to describe it. It was a very strong impression. And it said, "You need to ask Sarah out tonight." And so I just kind of shook it off as though it was nothing. We kept walking a little while, and then again, "You need to ask Sarah out tonight." And again I said, no. I mean, that was very scary for me to be able to just, even the idea, it's pretty intimidating. And so again, this impression really strong, you need to ask Sarah out now. And it's still kind of surreal to me in retrospect as I think about it. I just opened my mouth, and I think for the first couple of minutes, I don't remember what I said.
And at first he didn't make much sense. And then I realized what he was trying to say. And he started telling me these things that we had in common. Our values, our dreams, our desires for mission, our family background.
But after a while, I said to Sarah, you know, we've been hanging out for a while, and I just sensed that there's a lot that we have in common. And perhaps I'm wondering if you'd be willing to consider the possibility of a relationship. And I would love to ask, if that's a yes, I'd love to ask your dad for permission to date you.
And there I had it. For the last 2.5 years, I have been praying, God, the right guy is going to know why he thinks we're compatible before he even asks me out. And he's going to be willing to ask my dad for his blessing before we even start a relationship. And he had just done those two things. I had nothing to say but yes.
Now in retrospect, I know that she had prayed and God had led to this night, and it kind of just put her values and mine and her expectations and mine together. And after I asked her and she said yes, we prayed together and basically asked God to be the one to lead in our relationship.
He says, Lord, we're not perfect. Nothing on this earth is perfect. But every gift from you is a perfect gift. And we ask that if this relationship is a gift from you, that you will make it perfect. My name is Sarah.
My name is Marius, and my prayer
prayer's
was
been
answered.
My name is Alan Thompson. I'm 19 years of age. I'm a Christian, and my passion is to work for the Lord. I have been Adventist for the past year. I was baptized in the crusade in Cave Hill. At that crusade that Pastor David Beckles conducted, I really felt the urge and the need to give my life to God. I was going through a lot of challenges in my life, and the only person that could have actually solved them was God. Immediately after being baptized, I felt change. You know, sometimes we just say we feel changed in our hearts and our minds, but it was something about me that I just felt lifted up. I mean, I just felt changed, that God had done something new for me. And quickly after that, I just started playing music. I asked a pastor to help me with music lessons, and he gave me music lessons. He taught me how to play. I developed so fast that God gave me the inspiration to create a song, which now I'm very happy because it's being used as the theme song for the Megas Fest / Crusade this year. I would be where I am today. I mean, I could have lost my life many times. I felt suicidal many times. I felt like I lost hope, like there was no one there for me. But something was always pulling me back and telling me not to give up. But there's actually someone out there telling us there's something in life for you. There's someone who cares. There's someone who wants to talk to you. And I really thank God for that, because He changed things in just a twinkling eye. Because without God, nothing is possible.
Hi, and welcome back to the God Stop. Thank you for joining us again. We are so happy to see that you guys are talking to us on Facebook and you're tweeting us. And we actually have gotten 2 tweets already. And we have one tweet from JD Beckles, shout out to JD Beckles, and from Steve on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you for tweeting us, and continue talking to us.
Yeah, so we welcome all of your comments on Twitter, on Facebook, and so on, and also your calls on Skype. Now, we're looking at the God's handiwork, and we spoke of being made in the image of God, but we also understand that sin entered and it caused man's image, the image that man was created in, to be defiled. So we can't say that we are now still fully in the image of God. We have been defiled by sin. How have we been defiled? Anybody?
God made us perfect, sinless.
Yes.
No, we're not perfect anymore. We're not perfect anymore. So that's my understanding about being defiled. That we no longer have the same status that we were given at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is the defilement, is that just physical?
No, it's not just physical. It's mental. It's
in every aspect. I would say defiled in every aspect. Whereas I wouldn't know how it would be to be perfect, but I would just assume that I'd be able to use all of my brain, my voice box as I would please.
You will be able to sing, but you can't sing
every note. No. But yes, defiled in every aspect of our
another way to the main thing would be spiritually. We were definitely defiled spiritually because we can no longer see the spiritual realm, right? And that was the one thing that was connecting us literally between us and God, right? So He had to find another way to get to us.
Okay.
Other than that, after that, because remember what he just said before, once we, well, in the break, he was saying that once we follow God, right, everything else is added on, right? So, I mean, like, if you separate from Him, I think everything else falls apart. So, obviously, it will affect us. Physically, we've lost control of our emotions, that so that we have to now regain control of ourselves, then to try and worship the Lord. So, yeah, it's...
You say we now have to regain control of ourselves, but we need to recognize as well that we cannot do it on our own.
That's good. We need God That's taking us into the next session. But one thing you said that kind of piqued my interest as well is the whole idea of you saying spiritually we've lost we've been defiled spiritually. Because one time, when man was created, Adam and Eve, they were created perfect.
Yeah.
They would naturally desire God.
Yeah.
But mankind now don't naturally desire God. In fact, there's those of them who don't even believe in God.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons, or the aspects of being defiled. Mankind no longer by nature desire God. We have to go, in fact, God comes seeking after us because we don't go seeking after Him.
True.
Because of sin, which is correct. So the Bible speaks about us being defiled, but it also speaks of a renewal, a restoration. God's desire is to restore us in His image. Can somebody read Ephesians chapter 4, verse 23 and 24? And let us look at this whole idea of renewal and restoration, because we are defiled. But TJ, God don't want us to remain defiled.
No, He doesn't. I mean, that's why He sent Jesus for us. The plan of salvation centers around us at one day getting back to that state that God designed us in. And I think that should give us hope. And that should let us know, okay, so I'm sinful and I'm sinful by nature and I do the wrong things. But at some point, if I continue to seek after God as He seeks after me, then I have hope for being restored.
It would make all of us feel really special. I mean, a woman feels special when a man seeks after her. And, you know, when the guy, it's a secret. Shh. We actually feel good when women seek after us too, okay? I'm just saying, but go ahead.
Yes, read it to us, Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22 and 23.
And be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness.
So what is the assurance being presented here? I mean, think about it. We found ourselves in a mess. And I don't think, or should I ask this question, can we help ourselves out of this mess?
No.
I mean, but they're billionaires in the world. Can't they buy themselves out of this mess? Can't you, I mean, the persons, you don't like how you look, you go fix your nose, fix your cheeks, fix all kind of other parts that we will not mention on the God Stop. But, so can I fix myself?
No. And the thing is, look at it this way, when people fix themselves like that, they're still not happy, they're still missing something. And they're missing something because they don't recognize that God is there. So, as long as they recognize that God is there, then they won't have that desire to do anything to themselves.
Plastic parts break up.
Exactly.
It's true. It's true.
It's true, TJ, they break up and fall apart?
Well, I mean, they inject plastic. Like, they put plastic in you and they inject silicone into you. I mean, yeah. Ew. No, not cool.
Celebrities' nose fell off. I mean.
It's all in an attempt to make yourself perfect. But we understand that, perfect. But we cannot help ourselves. Don't care how rich we are, all the resources that we have. We can't help ourselves out of the problem called sin.
No.
If you have a financial problem, you may be able to help yourself. If you have a job problem, well, somewhat. But with this problem called sin, it's impossible for us to help ourselves. But what is the assurance from God's Word? What is the assurance that we get from His Word? Is there a solution? Is there help?
One thing for sure is that once we turn our thoughts and our actions towards Him and we seek after Him, He said, I will restore you, I will renew you. And as Paul said, he said that we have to constantly, every day, it's not just once a week and then we move on. It's like every day we have to constantly and diligently pray to God to do things to change our hearts. Because we will pray now, ask for forgiveness, 2 minutes later, the same thing hit us. So true. Right? That's how it is with us. That's how we are. So we have to constantly think about Him. We have to constantly do things to encourage ourselves and to build our knowledge of Him and to get to know Him.
And it all goes back to our relationship with God. Because remember when Adam and Eve sinned, they kind of hid themselves away, and when God called them, they were like ashamed. You know, so it all goes back to our relationship with God. And once we have that relationship with God, God will help us to renew our thoughts.
Wonderful. Jamal?
Well, yeah, I agree with what they were saying.
Okay, good. Wonderful. So that's true. Adam and Eve sinned. God came in the picture. They went hiding from God because of sin, man wants to go away from God.
Yeah.
But what I get comfort from and understand from the Bible, God who created us, and knowing that our image has been defiled, God wants to recreate His image in us. He's not leaving us alone. And that's beautiful. We have challenges. We're in a mess, but God is there and He wants to recreate His image in us. He's not saying, look, that product was defiled, take it off the product line, discard of that product, let's get a new product. God is saying, no, see that same product? I'm going to recreate that product. So though you were created to be a Porsche, but I'm not going to call another car name before I'm sued, but you became something else. God is saying, like, I still want you to be a Porsche. And I'm going to make you a Porsche. You may be something else now, but when God is finished with you, you'll be a Porsche.
Yeah, and I think 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature.
Wonderful.
All things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And that's awesome. Think about the fact that you get to be new. What is it?
Think about it
Like,
every day.
think about like how you feel. Okay, so say you've like, it's a long day, it's hot, Barbados is hot, and you've walked through town and you're sweaty and you're like icky, and then you get home and you take a shower. Oh, that's an amazing feeling, to be clean, to be new. You feel new. Imagine how that would feel like when God makes us new. It's amazing.
Yeah, because really and truly, sometimes, especially when you've just repented and you know everything done, gone, thrown far away, never to come back again.
Yeah.
This sensation of knowing that you're right with God
Yes.
is just, it's relieving. You physically feel it, and you feel better. You walk, you know, a little bit taller, and is an awesome feeling, as you said. It's great.
That's a good comparison you raise. You know, sometimes you sin, you find yourself in a situation, you're there uncomfortable, you wonder if God hates, you know, if you're cast off and you don't have any hope. But when you pray and you feel and you repent and you ask God to forgive you, you feel light, you feel brand new.
Yeah. It's
you feel
true.
good. You feel like how Naaman would have felt.
Yes.
Yeah?
Even when I was 12 years old and got baptized, I felt great when I came from the water. And even when I go to come and have communion, I feel as though I have been baptized again. You know? It feels that kind of refreshing. It feels cool. It feels light.
And it grape juice tastes good.
True. So true. So we can be assured that God is going to renew us. And that one day he's going to come back and that we will be perfect like we were initially.
I can't wait to have that feeling.
Yes.
Awesome.
So we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, continue to tweet us. Shout out again to Dr. J. Beckles and to Steve who tweeted us, and all of our new followers on Twitter. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/thegodstop. Add us on Skype, The God Stop, and call in. Give your comments, give your feedback, ask questions. We'll answer them. Stay right with us. We'll be right back. This is really cool.
When he was 3 months old, Anthony was diagnosed with cancer. We were told it had spread to both kidneys, his liver, and his bone marrow, and that we were to do everything the doctors said and wait to see what God would do for him to survive. My mom told me she hadn't prepared me for this. We never had any serious illness in my family. So when we heard about Anthony, she said, all I've taught you to do is pray, so that's what we'll do. And we prayed. We prayed at home. We asked our friends to pray. My mom was a speaker in women's ministries events, and everywhere she went, she took his picture and asked the mothers of the church to pray for her grandson. And we prayed at home. We prayed for healing. We wanted him to be healed, to be a healthy boy. And a pastor visited us and said that there are 3 ways that God could answer that request for healing. The first one was the touch and be healed, and of course that's the one we wanted. The second one was through modern medicine, and the third one was through resurrection, waiting for when Jesus returned. And he said we needed to be ready to accept any of the 3. And we went through the cycle of chemotherapy and then surgery, and every step of the way it was prayer that held us up. We had to pray when we stayed with him in the hospital and watch him go through his sessions. We had to pray to know where the money would come from to pay for his treatment. We had to pray for favor in our job so that we could keep doing what we needed to do to provide and to be with his big brother as he spent so much time alone without his parents, wondering where we were when we were taking care of his little brother. We had to pray just to wake up every day and want to get up and face the challenges of the day. But at the end of this, he was healed. around that time in the institution we worked in, there were many people who started going through serious illness. And I remember listening to their prayers for comfort and resignation and peace. And I asked the pastor if I could bring Anthony to give his testimony. By this time, he was 3 years old. And he said, yes, you can bring him. So the following day, I brought him and I said, I've listened to all the prayers and I want you to know that God answers prayer, and I want to show you a living answer to prayer. So I brought him up to the front. We had microphones. I had a microphone. And I said, Anthony, would you please tell all these people who healed you? And he grabbed the microphone from my hand and he said, do you want to know who healed me? Jesus healed me. There was not a dry eye in the room. And I understood then that we go through these things sometimes so that we can tell others how God can answer our prayers. He's 8 years old now. He wants to be a medical missionary doctor who's a pastor on the weekends. And he was baptized last year. And anytime you ask him why he's alive, he says, because Jesus healed me. My name is Tricia, and my prayer was answered.
Psalms 37:5. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. As young people, we have several plans. We have plans for family, plans for university, or maybe plans even for a business. The Lord has offered this wonderful promise to us. This is a promise that we can utilize for anything that we wish or our hearts desire that we might need to be successful. God has asked us to bring everything to him, and he says that he will make it happen for us. So whenever we have those big plans, those big dreams, everything, whatever it may be, just remember, God will make it happen for you.
Hello and welcome back to the God Stop. We thank you so much for joining us, and we're saying hello to everybody that's talking to us on Facebook. Hi to Jilly Tull and hi to Carol Charles. Thank you so much for your comments. We are getting your calls on Skype, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So if you are getting on to us but you can't hear us, just type your comments into the Skype box and we'll still talk about them online. We have a caller now. We're talking to Monique from Barbados. Monique, can you hear us?
I can.
Hi.
Night.
Hi, Monique. Good night.
I was just looking at my quarterly, and I was saying that as young people, we have our own experiences in terms of our Christianity. And what I think
Well, you're breaking up just a little bit, so we want you to repeat yourself one more time in terms of the question that you're giving us. You're just breaking up just a little. So can you please repeat the question for us, please?
Okay. I'm just saying that on this Thursday's lesson, it was saying that as Christians, we need to see this spiritual warfare as a reality of the human way of life. I'm just asking, how real is this?
Okay, Monique, we lost you. I'm so sorry about that. If you could type your question in so that we could discuss it a little bit later on the show, but we're going to jump right back into the lesson.
Right, so we couldn't hear Monique in terms of the question, but we will get to that question at some point in time, if time permits, for our show. But we were discussing with Jamal, Susan, and Anais as it relates to God's handiwork. And what we discussed this week as we bring our program in for this week we look at the idea of God creating mankind, and God is responsible for mankind. And we also understand that God is also the one who wants to restore us in His image, because through sin we became defiled. But God is not casting us away. He's coming after us because He wants to recreate His image in us.
True.
And we're happy that we would have had persons following us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Skype, and also those from we also want to thank those from Weekend Radio, who are so faithful in listening to us and sharing this program, and we are happy that they are part of this process as well. So a big shout out to Weekend Radio and all the others who are there. We have so many persons following us faithfully. We're going to get bigger, we're going to get better, we're going to continue on what we're doing. We are so happy that our guests were with us tonight. And TJ, we are so happy that we could come to another session of the God Stop.
Yes, so true. I actually love this show. It's awesome. So, about our discussion today, you guys have any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
Well, I am glad that God sent His Son to save us.
Yeah.
Because being separated from God due to sin I guess, has treated us horribly. And I'm happy that we can choose. We can consciously choose God.
Wonderful.
And we aren't, God isn't imposed on us forcefully.
I also want to say that even though we've sinned, I just want to say thanks to God because He still loves us regardless. And He will continue to love us until He comes for us again. And forever and ever and ever.
Wonderful.
I just want to say that, remember that in everything and throughout this lesson, and just basically saying that you, everyone out there, you are so, 6 O's, important to God, right? Because He has placed this heavy value on us, right? We can't just see ourselves as anything less.
Wonderful.
Right? We have to raise ourselves to His level because that's where He wants us to be. He wants us to be in it. He wants us to be in His embrace.
So
right?
true. And like someone just tweeted us, Steve said, we don't need body work, we need character work through God. I think that's a good part to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on The God Stop. I'm Trishatha.
And I'm Pastor Jason Reed.
Join
Thanks
us
for
next
being with
time
us. See you next week.
on The God Stop, where we stop and wait for God to take us wherever He wants us to go. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
This was such a fun